We're going to dive into 3 really simple stories today, but don't let that fool you because they all share one incredibly powerful secret. It's about that invisible line between success and failure, and, more importantly, how you can actually choose which side you end up on.
And it really all comes down to this one question. We spend so much time thinking success is about getting more stuff, more money, bigger titles, you name it. But what if the single most important factor is invisible? What if it's all about our perspective, the story we tell ourselves about what's happening to us?
Let's take a look.
All right, so for our first lesson, we're heading to the beach. It's a story about 2 friends who have a pretty straightforward plan. Collect conch shells, sell them, and make a little money. Simple enough, right? Well, their day took a very, very interesting turn.
So right out of the gate, one of the friends hits the jackpot. He finds this massive, perfect conch shell, a huge win. But this one event completely throws his friend off course. All of a sudden, the goal isn't just to collect shells anymore. It's, I have to find a shell just as big as his.
And you can really see the 2 different mindsets right here. On one side, you've got the second friend who's gone completely all or nothing. If it wasn't the one giant prize, it was trash to him. He literally started throwing away the smaller shells he found. But his friend on the right, he stuck to the plan. He valued every shell. He kept his big prize, sure, but he also kept picking up all the little ones along the way.
And here's the kicker. This is what's so fascinating. At the end of the day, when they went to sell their finds, that one big shell, the one that caused all the drama, it was worth 1,000 rupees. But all those small shells, the ones the other guy was tossing aside like garbage, they were worth 3,000. Yeah, 3 times more than the so-called grand prize.
So the lesson here is pretty clear, isn't it? By getting obsessed with that one huge lottery ticket win, the second friend completely blinded himself to where the real value was. He ended up with nothing. Meanwhile, his buddy, who valued small, steady progress, walked away with the whole shebang.
Now let's build on that with our second story. This one's about a man who survives a shipwreck only to wash up on a completely deserted island. I mean, things are looking pretty grim, and then, somehow, they manage to get even worse.
You can just feel the despair on his timeline, can't you? He spends weeks praying, but nobody comes. After a while, he loses hope, but he still musters the strength to build himself a little hut. He finally finishes it, only to come back the very next day and find the whole thing is on fire, burned to the ground. Everything is gone.
He's hit absolute rock bottom. He curses God, curses his luck, curses the universe, and just collapses in the ashes, totally defeated. But then, he wakes up, and it's to the sound of a ship's horn. A rescue ship has actually found him. He's in total disbelief. He asks the captain, How did you possibly find me out here? And the captain's reply is the twist that changes everything. He says, we saw your smoke signal. That burning hut, the thing he saw as his final crushing defeat, was actually the beacon that saved his life.
I mean, just think about that for a second. The exact same event can be seen as a total disaster or a complete miracle. It proves that sometimes what feels like the absolute end of your story might actually be the start of your rescue.
Okay, this third and final story is the one that really ties it all together. It's about a beggar who works the trains every day, just asking for money, until 2 separate run-ins with a businessman completely flip his entire reality upside down.
So the first time they meet, the businessman says no, he won't just give him money. He says, look, I'm a businessman. I believe in len-den, which is basically a transaction, a give and take. He tells the beggar, if you have something to give me, then I can give you something in return. And that idea just sticks in the beggar's mind.
So the beggar starts thinking, what on earth can I give? He sees some flowers growing nearby and gets an idea. From then on, every time someone gives him a coin, he gives them a flower in return. And a funny thing starts to happen. His earnings actually go up. He's not just a taker anymore, he's part of an exchange. A while later, he bumps into that same businessman on the train. The beggar, now more confident, offers him a flower for a coin. And the businessman just smiles and says the words that change the man's entire life. Wow, today you have become a businessman like me.
And in that one moment, everything clicks into place. You can see the whole journey right here. He started with the identity, I am a beggar. Then he took a new action, giving a flower. That action led to a new realization. Wait a minute, I'm not a beggar, I'm a small merchant. And that new identity, that new story he told himself, created a whole new reality. He went on to become a huge flower tycoon. His world changed the second he changed his mind about who he was.
So we've got three totally different stories, right? A shell collector, a shipwreck survivor, and a beggar. They seem to have nothing in common, but they all point to the exact same powerful truth.
Let's just break it all down. The story of the conch shells taught us that if you only look for the big win, you'll miss the real value that comes from small, consistent progress. The burning hut showed us that what looks like a disaster can actually be a signal, an opportunity in disguise. And the beggar? He proved that your circumstances don't define you, your mindset does.
So what is the one secret that ties all of this together? It's this. The world doesn't just happen to you. You interpret it. A fire is just a fire. Small shells are just shells. You are the one who writes the story around those facts. And that story, that interpretation, that's the reality you get to live in.
So look, these aren't just cute little parables, they are blueprints. They are roadmaps for a completely different way of seeing the world. They show us that we have the power to rewrite our failures, to redefine who we are, and to see value where everyone else sees junk. The stories are over. The only question left is, which one will you start living?